Carey?
There was a debate.
Yes.
So Trump and Harris last night, which as I just said, I watched just about most of it today, and you're probably going to tell me a few moments that I missed something really important in the last few minutes of the debate, but I kind of don't think I did. I didn't see the exploding underpants. But I did see, one of the enduring moments, of course, was Trump saying they're eating the dogs, and then he added the cats as if eating dogs wasn't enough. And I think he was kind of going for the dog lover vote. We all know how that's a floating vote in America, isn't it? I thought it was just kind of a debate with very little real meat to it, you know. And there's a lot of people saying today that that Harris took the fight to Trump. I think what she actually did at times was take the Trump to Trump. Yeah. In that she used Trump methods of debate against him, which I think surprised him. I think it knocked him off kilt a little bit because
somebody said it was a great phrase. I think it was an opinion columnist, an American one, said that Kamala is she's like learning how to cope with Trump, but her greatest ally in this fight is Trump.
Yeah. Yes, and even I thought it was a very Trumpy thing to do the you get small audiences at your rallies and they don't last long, which was a bit doing this to him, which kind of threw him.
It's funny, isn't it? Because
you're all falling for the sort of spin. I mean, you're all falling for the Guardian type spin and the Fox News spin. I mean, they're saying Trump in damage control mode, but they're quoting people like Fox News, who are rhinos anyway. People are getting carried away with how well Kamala did. She definitely did better than expected, but she was expected to perform like a mentally ill child, so it's not that hard. She just had to form an occasional sentence. You're not going to be worse than Biden. Biden was struggling with advanced dementia, so of course it was going to be much harder than that.
Do you think, in hindsight, the Republicans should have tried to keep Biden in place?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
could they have done more to do that?
Of course. And think about that. Why were the moderators, why did they allow Biden to suffer, but they all ganged up on Trump and clearly sided with Harris? Now, they went so far, the moderators, that they took away some of the sort of luster from Harris's performance because it was so obvious what they were doing, repeatedly fact-checking Trump with little snide remarks, but letting Harris repeat the fine people hoax about Charlottesville, completely debunked, even by Snopes, even by the left. Disgusting rubbish. And she was allowed to get away with that completely.
Also, I mean, I'm not going completely on one side here. I was going to be a bit more even-handed, but also claims that he made claims that she was going to get rid of guns and so on. She denied it, but she has talked about the buyback schemes and so on quite a lot with firearms. I mentioned it several times. She also said that at a rally, he said that Trump said there'd be a bloodbath if he wasn't elected, but that's not a correct quote at all. What he said was there would be a bloodbath in the auto industry if he's not elected, which is a completely different connotation. Really.
Bloodbath,
They just doubled down on their lies for the low information.
And there was another one which was corrected, and ABC corrected him on, but it actually turned out to be true. I mean, it's a minor point, but apparently Kamala Harris said that she was happy to see the state pay for illegal aliens to have transsex, to have gender reassignment surgery, which turned out to be true, even though it's like...
really? Okay.
It's pocket change, but still.
And these are the things he could have hammered her on more, how radical she is. And he did hammer at the start and the end on the thing that she's in already. Why hasn't she been doing these things already? Because the reality is... Who is running the country? Because Biden's gone, he's disappeared completely, and no one's running the country. So the question is, who's running the country? And when let's say Harris does win, who will be running it then? It won't be Harris.
The same people,
exactly. So she just needs to be able to speak it up. My worry is that they try and rig it because they've got a vaguely plausible candidate who can talk, and then they try and rig it again. Or not again, if we're not allowed to say that.
But I feel like he wasn't prepared enough.
Satirical content. Go on.
I didn't feel like he was prepared enough to deal with all that because she got to repeat her slogans, opportunity, economy, and so on, which are fairly meaningless things. And I felt that he just wasn't prepared to dive in on that and say, what are you talking about? What is it? What is the actual policy? She did a number of things that just seemed a bit daft. At one point, she was talking about women getting abortions, and she actually said they'd have to get on a plane with people they don't know to fly somewhere with. I know. I thought that was
never again.
Pretty common, really.
That does seem to be. I mean, the mad cat lady thing is obviously becoming the divisive, right? The what's his name, Vance's phrase. But that is the key demographic, isn't it? That is the one that votes Kamala all the way.
Oh yeah,
unmarried women, not necessarily.
But they're not
women,
reachable.
But unmarried women. So they're not going to. But they can be activated, more or less activated. If they all come out, then they're in trouble. Right?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later with Taylor Swift. But yeah, he did miss opportunities. He could have been better. I'm not saying it was vintage Trump, although there was an element of vintage Trump in how combative he was. But I think he should have been less combative and actually played it like, I'm in charge here. I'm basically winning. You're rubbish. You're a fake candidate. And he could have just tossed it off like that. But he was a bit aggressive, maybe. Go on.
Can I ask you just on one issue? Because I think the single most important job of the president. I mean, it rhetorically certainly is commander-in-chief, but also it really is. That is the moment at which a single individual sits in a room with Putin or Xi or whatever, you know, the big international summits. They don't seem to really cover that unless you get it off the vibe. They don't really. I mean, it's been a big 4 years with the Ukraine and Israel, obviously top of the list, but you know, all kinds of other trouble spots. Can you imagine Kamala Harris coping with Iran if they kicked off?
No, or dealing with Putin. It's impossible to imagine. And that's where Trump was strong with his story about Abdul, which is his story of showing him his house, and then that scared him. He is better on that stuff. He could have done a lot more on that.
Yeah.
And
I thought he just skirted over that so fast for so many people who wouldn't even know the story. And it was kind of like, I showed him his house, and it's like,
I know, that
doesn't really tell people what happened in that meeting. Or
I know about it because I already know about it.
If I was him, I would take another debate and I would focus on that. Anyway, very quickly, the NHS, Nick, in the Telegraph.
Oh, well, yeah, the Telegraph still also has Trump. And by the way, last thing on Trump, the assassination attempt wasn't mentioned at all, which is insane.
Weird.
But they have Team Trump at odds after debate misfire, so they're actually going with the same angle as The Guardian. Then they've got, NHS. NHS does less despite record funding. So all the papers are going with this NHS story that Starmer's basically going to revamp the NHS. It'll be the biggest revamp, quite Trump actually, biggest revamp you've ever seen. And Labour can do it because they're not the nasty party, although people are realising rapidly they are. They're allowed to get away with it. They're in a good position because post-pandemic, obviously people are less warm towards the NHS than they were. Streeting's been getting these reports to back him up. But the only problem is Labour will also be the ones doing it, so it'll be a complete disaster.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, if they do reform, the only conceivable way in which they reform is to introduce an element of insurance, isn't it, if that's what they're talking about?
Is that what they're talking about? They're talking about the biggest NHS reform in history, which I wouldn't have thought would be bigger than creating the NHS. That was quite a big reform at the time,
since 1948, so that would be it,
Yeah, totally. Look, it needs reforming. You know, the NHS still relies on fax machines and pagers. It's like North Korea
Windows
in there,
95.
You know? So, totally. It's many decades behind, so that reform is happening. But the question is, how much is this being used as a prelude to the budget to say we need to raise taxes and so on? And there's a lot of reasons being laid down now, and everything coming down to tax rises.
I'm afraid that is times, Carey, and Trump and Taylor Swift are never ever getting back together again after this, I suspect.
No, this is just more Trump-Harris debate, isn't it? And Taylor Swift chose a side after the debate, which I don't know why she didn't already know what she was about. I think most people could have predicted it.
Carey.
Is that what it was? So, yeah, I mean, look, when famous people endorse, I get why it's just the famous endorsements, celebrity endorsements are a thing, but I don't really get why anyone cares whatsoever what Taylor Swift has to think anyway. She writes songs about ex-boyfriends and people like them, very good, but that doesn't make her a political expert or anyone who should have any kind of sway in a debate that's this important. But, OK, that happens. She says, I'm voting for Harris because she fights for rights and causes, I believe, we need a warrior to champion them. I'm not sure Kamala has done anything to really show she's a warrior. She did keep repeating last night, I've got a plan. Do you know what, even the way she says that, I find a little bit grating. It's, I've got a plan. It's not like, I've got a plan. There's nothing assertive about it.
Well,
so
I mean, it is difficult when you've been in power for 4 years. But
yes, it is, isn't it? What's your plan?
Taylor Swift is also widely held to be a psyop anyway. Everyone thinks she's a creation of the FBI.
Yeah, I was going to say
really?
They've essentially activated the asset, is what they've done. She's already got her fake relationship with the guy with the dumb hat, the football player. Everyone's saying that's fake, it's got a contract.
Well, that's broken up, isn't it? That ended. I think that was that expired like a couple of weeks ago.
It was revealed that it has an expiration date.
Oh.
But they were just at the US Open dancing. They were at the US Open dancing. It's not. It was revealed.
You left your helmet.
She
in
denied
my closet.
She denied it, but the claim was that it's a fake relationship. Yeah. But they were dancing together to prove it was so genuine.
Well, they're going to have to stay together for another 6 months now, aren't they?
Then she had this cat lady joke. She signed it from a cat lady. Yeah. Which is a reference to Vance, of course. But there is a tragic aspect that, like, all these single women are, they're struggling. They've not got kids. Then they're voting. All they can do is vote for the Democrats to destroy the West as revenge. Yeah. That's their only option. And Musk, to be fair, very nice of Musk. He tweeted, "Fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life," which I thought was generous. And with Musk, he has so many children. You actually believe he'll do it.
He could give her one.
You believe he could go to Mars and he could have a child with Taylor Swift.
Might even be unnamed.
She hasn't agreed to it, though, right?
No, but she'd have to agree with a contract. Let's be very clear.
He didn't mention that, did he?